Hey guys, welcome back to the Hillside, and most importantly, welcome to summer. Today's the first day of summer. Hope you're enjoying it. It's a hot one out here today, and officially I have lost control of my freaking garden. Okay, I've really kind of realized that we've had a lot of rain lately. It's been super warm temperatures, and it seems like just overnight, everything has just gone crazy. Case in point, check out this corn behind me. All right, the old saying, knee high by the 4th of July, which is pretty outdated. I mean, that's not really accurate anymore from all the research. That's just an old-timey saying, you know, but this corn's about 4.5 feet tall. It's a country gentleman. If you ever heard of that, it's an old heirloom type corn. So anyhow, I'm going to walk you through my garden right now and show you what's going on and just how much. Let's just talk about what control means in the garden first, okay? So first off, does control mean to you everything's in a nice, neat, straight row, that there is absolutely no weeds, it's all perfect, everything's perfectly manicured, everything's just, you know, controlled to the max? All right, is that what control means to you? But to me, it means something different, okay? To me, control means I can let go. I can just let them take the wheel, let the plants do what they want, and they're going to do just fine without a lot of care on my part. Okay, so I've done a lot of research, a lot of reading on permaculture and, you know, 1 Yard Revolution, all these kind of different channels and books, all these kind of things that really just talk about, you know, doing as little as possible and getting the most out of your garden. Because, I mean, it's hot outside. This is hard work, you know, if you're down there pulling weeds and bending over or backwards, trying to make everything look perfect, when in reality, all you're trying to do is grow some plants, okay? And at that, we don't actually grow the plants. The plants, they grow themselves. All we can do is provide the best all-around environment, you know, the best soil, best fertility, hopefully organic, pesticide, non-chemical based. That's just my opinion. But it is possible to do a lot of this, all of this, okay? All of this is done without chemicals on my part. I'll show you what it is, what I do. Okay, but that being said, let me go ahead and turn you around, and we're just going to talk about what's going on in the garden and how I say I've lost control, but at the same time, I'm in complete control. So let me explain. Okay, so first up, what do we see here? Well, if you look closely, you know what you're looking for. You can see right here are 2 eggplants. There's one right here, and there's one right there. Okay, and they're kind of blending into the rest of the sea of green, okay? And that's just fine, because the plants are going to do just fine growing together. Now, I know a lot of people might say I need to have a row of eggplant, or I need to have these plants. They can't touch anything else because that's just what eggplants, they have to be all by themselves. That's what gardening is. That's nonsense, okay? If you look in the forest, on the creek bank, on a river bank, wherever, plants are mingled all over the place. You know, there's not just one spot where it's just maple trees, and then you go 50 yards over that way and it's just oak trees, and you go over here and there's just these type of wildflowers growing all by themselves, their own little clusters, okay? That's actually unnatural to do that. So focusing more on a natural type setting, just look what you have in this small space. Now this right here, I'm fairly certain it's a cantaloupe or it's a cucumber. I honestly don't remember. I got a little carried away at planting time and just kind of started throwing stuff in the ground and lost all my tags, but irrelevant because it's doing just fine where it's at. It's growing on the ground here. It's growing underneath the eggplant. Okay, it's kind of getting its way over that way. Over here is another cucumber plant down there. Hope you can see that one. And that is right beneath 2 tomato plants. And that one there is actually putting on some nice tomatoes this early in the season, which is awesome. Okay, now, and of course I showed you the corn here in the foreground. So everything is growing together. And underneath the corn, looking down here, what do you see? Another cucumber plant growing underneath the corn. So while the plants are utilizing all of the space, this cucumber plant is being provided shade by the corn. It's actually helping probably retain some moisture with the shade that it does provide on the ground. And as a ground cover type plant, it's doing just happy. Just finding its own sunlight, finding its own little place in the garden, okay? So sometimes just let your plants go where they want to go, okay? It doesn't need to be about controlling everything. Your plants are going to find out a way to grow. You just have to let them, okay? It's just like your kids, you know? You just don't want to control everything aspect of their life. They need to be themselves, right? And they'll find a way to be successful. So in this bucket here, these are Virginia peanuts. I've never grown peanuts before, other than a few just trials that went terribly wrong for other reasons won't get into right now. But these peanuts are doing fairly well in this nice area, nice loose soil in this fairly large size container. So hopefully just as an experiment, we'll get some peanuts out of it. No big deal if we don't, because it's just all about experimenting and having fun. All right, now before I get to more plants, I just did this today. All right, this is an old straw bale, and it was really old and kind of dried out, so it's perfect for using as a covering. Right here was basically just exposed soil. Okay, now I made a video a long time ago called "Exposed Soil Equals Weeds." Look that up, or look up somebody else's video about what exposed soil does. Okay, it provides sunlight and moisture to weed seeds that are stored in the ground, giving them an opportunity to germinate. Okay, so using this straw, it's providing a barrier. Okay, it's making a nice soft walking space, because if I'm in the garden, I'll be barefoot. People, let me go ahead and warn you ahead of time. I will not be showing you my feet, so that's a good thing. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So anyhow, it's going to provide a nice protection for the soil as well, because rain and erosion, and especially on a hillside or a sloping or terracing type of situation you may find yourself in exposed soil is going to wash away. So yeah, you really want to avoid that. It also provides, like I said, moisture retention, but it's also going to keep the soil cooler. Okay, you'd be surprised between a fully exposed just barren dirt, you'd see it out in the field somewhere in a commercial setting. The soil temperatures can be just ridiculous, and the soil holds the heat and radiates, which gives makes you more dependent on more water and more chemicals and all kind of stuff, which just cover your ground. All right, just cover your ground, especially if you live in a dry or an arid climate where water retention and water scarcity is a real concern, unlike here where it seems to rain more than enough. Honestly, I don't ever actually supplementally water this garden, just very rarely in case we do have some prolonged dry spells, but that's not really been something we had to deal with yet this year. But anyways, along this line of the pallet garden here, I do have some peppers down here, and they're doing just fine. They're just now starting to really take off. We had a very cold snap, really late frost, almost lost a frost scare. I guess it didn't officially freeze, but it got really close, and the soil stayed cold for so long, which was awesome for the cabbages and the broccolis and those kind of crops that typically in our springtime here, where it heats up so fast, they have a hard time, doing anything really productive because it just gets too hot and it zaps them. This year it was quite the opposite. The cold crops, the broccolis and the cauliflowers did fabulous, and that's because we had a nice cool spring. So hedge your bets, whatever, grow some early stuff, some late things, and just be prepared to just experiment, and something's going to happen good in your garden with a lot planting. Now, this here is a watermelon. This is Jubilee, I think it's what it was called. This watermelon, I hope, is going to vine along the ground underneath the kind of canopy of these peppers as they get bigger. And if it ventures into the walking path, well, that's just fine too. Okay, so now examining this big mess back here, these of course are green beans. These are Roma beans, like the flat Italian style green beans, which I think I prefer to more of like the slender, like French green beans. But look at this right here, this massive patch. I'm not even gonna try to get back there with the camera because it's extremely difficult to navigate because there are plants everywhere. I don't want to damage roots, so I try to disturb it as little as possible. But these are German butterball potatoes, and to say I've lost control is an understatement. There are plants, I mean, they are going crazy. I've never had potatoes do this well, especially in this spot right here. But I mean, with the amount of rainfall we had lately and these nice temperatures, these potatoes are going absolutely crazy. There are very few even yellow leaves on it, but I didn't get around to hilling them up or mulching them up with some old hay and the root stout method in time. So like I said, I've lost control, but you know what? That's just fine because these guys are going to grow just all right. Potatoes have grown for a long time without me having to go around hilling them up, and I think they'll be just fine in the long run. The one thing that does kind of disappoint me a little bit is this back row of tomatoes. And I'm not really sure what this issue was back there. I think it was because of the cold snap. I had the plants out early, and I think that they just kind of got a little bit hit with the colder air, and they're not doing too well. I have tried to staking them up, and to be honest, I think that soil probably needs to be amended. I think I've probably overused it because everything else in this garden is absolutely just flourishing. except for back there. And I knew better. I grew some tomatoes back there last year. Now I'm growing them again, so I really should have done a better job at preparing that soil. But you know, what can you do about it? There are other tomatoes in this bed that are doing fantastic to make up for it. And the last thing I'm going to show you is when a good idea goes wrong. This massive, gigantic beast in front of you is this asparagus plant. Okay, and it is just absolutely going everywhere. I had all the best intentions of having a walkway kind of down here at the bottom to get, you know, to this back section of the garden. But of course, this plant just absolutely is just monstrous. The huge, I mean, these spears are twice as big as your thumb. I'm not exaggerating. It's pretty insane. But this little plant you can see right there is a Japanese wineberry. Found it growing on the roadside early this spring, so I just dug up a little tiny piece of it to see if it would survive, and you know, maybe put it into the garden. Like I said, this is before the asparagus took off, and I thought I'd have some room to keep it right there. And it has not only flourished, it's put off some runners. It is stretching itself into almost the right into the edge of the potatoes right there. If you can kind of make out this vine right here in the middle of your screen, but yeah, and it's covered in spikes, by the way, so that's really feels good on your bare skin, just for the record. But anyways, getting back to my main point, what is control, and do you really need to get that worked up about making sure every little thing is taken care of? Is it really for you, or is it for the plant's benefit? Okay, because I honestly believe, and you know, this is not putting anybody down, that is for our benefit, you know, as humans, because it's the aesthetically pleasing aspect of maybe seeing a nice, freshly mulched straight row of corn or tomatoes or beans or whatever it is. And that's fine, because that's just the traditional way of growing things. It's how we've always done things. But there's always a better way to do stuff, and I believe this is it. Okay, maybe you should take a little less control to gain some control. Okay, that's my last thing I'll leave you with right there, as this little white butterfly is kind of just flopping around and trying to photobomb me here. But anyways, we'll wrap it up there, guys. From the Hillside, hope you did enjoy this. If you did, please consider subscribing. Hopefully I'll see you next time here on the Hillside with more gardening tips and gardening advice. All right, guys, bye-bye.